Hey, Jerks. Mike Crawford here. I got this special guest, attorney Mark Bederow. We're waiting for Mazda Media. He's going to be here any minute now. Mark Bederow, you had a big night the other night on what is that called? Surviving the Survivor podcast that blew everything up in the
Yeah,
Karen Read thing.
it's fun.
Your analysis. What's going on?
Listen, they called me to ask to go on. I'm happy to go on. I'll talk to anyone. And they said they were going to have some law enforcement guys, one from the Massachusetts State Police, which I think is very interesting given this case, and a former FBI agent. And as I've told you in the past, I'm kind of sympathetic to the FBI. I know a lot of agents and whatnot. So it was a good conversation. It was very polite. They were good guys. I think one of them's getting a little too much heat. I mean, I think he said something very regrettable that I certainly don't agree with, but I don't think he's corrupt or anything like that, like some people were saying. I think if he was, he wouldn't not want to believe that these guys were. So I think they got a little bit of a bad rap. I didn't agree with a lot of what he was saying, but I think they started turning at the end. They were open to reason, and I think Todd, the ex state trooper, I thought sees a lot of problems and offered no defense to his former employer and had nothing nice to say about Proctor. So I think it was good.
Yeah, I think it was good. Definitely. I like Todd. I think state police. I think he's already there, but he's not because he wants more evidence, and I think he will get there by the end of the trial. I totally see him getting there, and the
There's
Dave guy, I don't think deserves any criticism at all because I just look at him as someone who's always with law enforcement. I'm
right.
guessing in every case, he's a nice guy. He
Yeah,
wasn't
he is a nice.
rude. He wasn't nasty like a lot of them are. So I think Dave didn't deserve any criticism. He just, once you know who he is, just expect it, right?
Yeah, no. Again, I thought it was fine. What I found interesting is kind of the aftermath, how triggering it is for some people, and I don't know why. This whole thing is fascinating. How everyone gets so jacked up and so upset and just nasty about people who don't agree with them. And when you use or attempt to use anyway logic, common sense, and persuasive presentation, it just tends to trigger people who tend to respond with the exact opposite. They respond with obstinance, name calling, delusion, and projecting. And I mean, one of the things that it turned into, their defense, a lot of them anyway, to logic, is what I call the turtle boy defense. They somehow, I mean, you're talking across, I mean, you're not even having the same conversation. Their response isn't even germane. They say, well, what are you talking about? Wait till you find out that they have evidence that Turtle Boy was harassing witnesses, and the Read and her lawyers knew about it. And okay, I know he's indicted, whatever, that'll play itself out. But I don't know what it has to do with the murder trial when none of that stuff is admissible against her. And then when you say that, then they just resort to, you're a jerk, and asshole, goodbye. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, the
whatever.
ad hominem attacks. It's
Yeah.
so funny for us to see. Maz is here now too.
Oh,
Maz and I have been through this for months. Like I was like one of the biggest targets of it in December. Went on and on, but it's very strange to see folks like you and Melanie Little who are so like respectable, experienced, smart,
it,
intelligent, and then now you guys are getting
I,
you're the magnets for it now
I
because you're
woke
so
up.
successful.
I woke up today to I'm learning about Twitter. I still don't fully, a quote tweet, is that what they call it when somebody, when
Tweeting.
Yes.
you see, I'm getting better. To Grant, who apparently, and it was something about where I said I'm taking a lot of flack, and just explain to me why that is. I think there's this lack of evidence, and somehow that turned into stop implying that you're okay with using violence against people, or something to that sort. And this guy is just out of his mind crazy at this point. I didn't even know what he's talking about. It's not the first time he's made that
No,
allegation.
it's that is projection, considering
Yeah.
that he's involved in some crazy incidents in multiple fronts with the women, with
Well,
Mars Stringer. It's like, dude,
well,
such projection.
what I said was, I'm being told that I'm advocating violence by a self-styled, not really, journalist who calls himself a towel and who actually has literally, I mean, I'm talking literally has a protective order issued against him for physically threatening and harassing a real reporter. I mean, this is bizarro world. And I didn't take the ultimate cheap shot, which is, I mean, he's related to Wendy. I mean, this is just bonkers. Whatever comes after bonkers, this is it. But
yeah, well, I mean, can you still imagine if Grant's been an undercover Fed this entire time, and that basically him now attacking KP and Yellow Cottage Tales is now like him, like basically saying, "Yeah, I'm on your side the whole time, guys." How outrageous would that outcome be? But I know it's not true. But you
I
say
wouldn't
Wendy
doubt
World, I take
Grant to
Granty
say that.
Land.
I
Yeah,
could see
yeah.
Grant totally saying
That would be
that.
a wild turn of events, but no, he's always been, and that's what's happening here is when you have all these people on this other side of the aisle, and they're all explosive characters. They're all vile, vindictive characters where none of them ever back down. They're constantly at war with Turtle Boy or someone on the side, and now all of a sudden you're starting to see these people kind of go at each other. And I thought about this months ago. This is going to come a time here where all these people that have been coming after us, they're just going to turn on each other and start brawling. And that's what happens when you take a bunch of rabid animals and put them in the same cage. They're going to start attacking each other, and that's what's happening here. And Grant's just going off on everybody now. And these are people that were, from the quote unquote victim, and I use that term lightly, to Grant and others like KP and Kevin. They're all, some of these people are now at it. Now they're disavowing Kevin, not Kevin, disavowing Grant.
Well,
Yeah,
a lot of them, I was just going to say, I'm sorry to cut you off. A lot of them like what he does, and I get it, because he's calling, Turtle Boy, whatever he's calling him, and calling all these other people things, but they're failing the first rule of what they're trying to accomplish. Is if you want this guy to be credible, he has to be credible. It's not a complicated concept, and there are different ways that they could do that. And the first way they could do that is kind of have an intervention with him and say, you can't call yourself a towel and be a credible journalist. Okay. Like let's start with just calling yourself a towel, whatever that means. But I mean, look, I have no interest in communicating with him. I think there's seriously something wrong with him. I don't know why he feels that these events trigger him to the point where he's somehow saying I should watch myself for advocating violence, when I'm simply saying I've noticed there's a lot of feedback, some good, some not so good, from going on these shows. And, for those of you who disagree, then just tell me how texts and butt dials and Google searches and accident reconstructions and things like that are, how you're going to overcome that, and how that morphs into what triggers him is that's on him, not me. And to me, he's a gnat who's not worthy of any further attention.
This is a guy that basically took the chair line, media line outside of the court and basically turned it into a neighborly quarrel about the next door neighbor's kid leaving his bike 2 feet over the property line. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was absolute outrage. And it wasn't even trolling. It was total, utter, complete madness and insanity. This was brewing the night before he had his confrontation with Jess, where he confronted her and basically, as we know, attacked her. It's like, this guy is just totally overflowing with insanity. I mean, it was absolutely just nuts. And his behavior is shocking sometimes, because when I met him in person, he was relatively subdued later in the day than he was that morning when he went after her. And I don't know what it is, but sometimes this guy just he's kind of almost comedic. And then all of a sudden he just turns into this frantic, argumentative, confrontational, bitter, hostile, relentless individual. And it's very shocking to see. It truly is. And like I said, fighting over media line chairs about who, and someone confronted them later in the day. If your chair is first in line or third in line, does it really make a difference if 10 people are getting in? And it was just absolutely one of the more, there's been a lot of maddening things that we've seen over the past year in this particular case from multiple levels. But this was probably one of the most, from a mental standpoint, one of the most mentally insane things we've seen.
Yeah, I can't say I didn't expect it. I predicted that this all would happen with Grant, and I'm not the only one. It's because we watched him do it over and over and over again over the last 2 years. He's burned so many people, and it's exactly what we predicted. We said he will eventually turn on KP and them. You watch.
No,
exactly what he's doing.
listen, I mean, I was invited on something else who I don't want to name it. It's not important, but was invited on some other podcast or whatnot. And apparently he was going to be on it. And I told them, then I'm not going to go on it. I'm just not even going to dignify and give him any kind of forum and demean myself by actually pretending to have a serious conversation with this guy. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. But I mean, we're all adults here. This feels like romper room. This is just so stupid.
Well, you
Did
got
you
folks
have?
like
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Oh
No,
yeah,
go ahead,
I
Basil.
was gonna say, Mark, you have folks like yourself that have, people like myself came in this from personal interest. You kind of came in here from a legal, with legal credentials, and you're coming in from a very high level of, you've been in law for a long, long time. You look at everything just like you would any normal case, but then you're seeing a situation where it's just overflowing with characters all from the other side that are quite animated, to say the least. It's like, yeah, I think you just, like, under normal circumstances when you're talking about other cases, but you probably made other show appearances before, and it's always professional. There's always decorum, and you have a
Yeah.
situation here where you got someone like this guy who's just all over Twitter, taking on everybody, coming at you personally, when you're just really, at the end of the day, you're offering a constructive, measured, analytically, balanced opinion based on your legal experience. And then, really, like you said, nobody should really take that personally.
I to this day still don't understand what the amazing vitriol is on people who just simply have a different view. They're certainly entitled to that view, although I don't know why anyone would assume someone is guilty just because they get arrested. I mean, that's a disturbing thing, and until it happens to you, I'm sure a lot of these people would feel different about being presumed guilty before anything's been presented. If anything, you ought to err on the other side and say, show me the proof. And if you do it, you tip your hat. People get convicted all the time, or they don't. And the only opinion here, I don't think it's very controversial, is after looking at this, it just appears pretty clear to me that they're never going to get there. If they do, they do. But I'm willing to listen and open it, talk to other people with different views, and I have no problem saying if the evidence supports it that she's guilty, but I don't know why saying that I don't think it's ever going to happen, that what they've done so far to me, and it's based on experience. I'm not trying to trigger anyone. This is what I do for a living, for God's
Exactly.
sake. It just appears to be ill-conceived, flawed, and never should have taken off the ground to begin with. That's been my premise. Not that this is a bad trial. This is a bad indictment, and there's a big difference. And as I said to you previously, it makes perfect sense to me that they would treat Karen Read as a primary suspect. That there's nothing wrong with that. There was evidence of some sort of conversation about maybe hitting him or whatever. Fine, then chase down the leads, but I don't think they should be where they are. And I don't know why that is so controversial. And I don't know why, when everybody gets so pissed off about it, they then say, but her and Turtle Boy were conspiring, and they have there's a search warrant affidavit, and they have their phones, and wait until they get in trouble. And then it morphs into, Jackson and Yannetti are going to get sanctioned and this and that. And I just think, my God, can we find out and get a verdict in a murder case before you start going down all these rabbit holes about,
Right.
Jackson and Yannetti and all the other stuff? It's crazy. I mean, I don't know how these people live this day to day for the 2 years they've been living in crazy town like they are. It's got to be stressful.
A lot of them are definitely conspiracy theorists, in my opinion. The way that they like put things together that aren't true a lot. Did you notice any substantial facts that they were questioning that you presented? Was there any pushback on anything that you actually said that was incorrect or not factual, or they had a different opinion about, that you felt like that was actually real from all the pushback that you got?
Well, they push back, but it's not so much pushing back with reason and logic. It's what I would call conclusory statements, such as, again, I'm only telling you the way it works in this world. Celebrite is everything. Okay. The Israeli government uses it. Okay. They're the most technologically advanced people in the world. Every DA's office in America uses it. Every U.S. attorney everyone uses Celebrite, and to simply say that the defense has valid Celebrite records, apparently, which we've seen actually, some of them in exhibits, that it tends to support all of these things that are, these weird phone calls, these weird deletions. And their response is, no, that's not the right report. They're going to call some guy and just wait. They're going to straighten out all the forensics and you'll see. Okay, I mean, whatever, but they fail again. They don't really analyze, which is in the best case scenario that probably would lead a juror to question. In the best case, I'm not saying this is likely, because I think the defense expert seems to be more credentialed, but that's another story. If you're unclear about take the, what is it, 2:27 a.m., the how long to die in the cold. If the jurors are saying, I don't know, in other words, maybe it was 2:27, maybe it was 6:04, if they're open to the possibility that the defense theory could be correct, then they're allowing for the fact that McCabe could be lying. They're allowing for the fact that she could have done it when she should have been sleeping. And you can see where I'm going. All that speculation leads to one result. That's not guilty, because of the burden of proof. And trying to reason with a lot of these people on these points, it's just, you can't do it, because then they're just not listening. And look, again, disagree all you want, but be respectful and just disagree. But disagree without being disagreeable, like I thought the guys were the other night. I had no problem with that, either one of those guys. I thought you all were a little harsh on the FBI agent. That's my own view. I kind of like Jeff. He's got a hell of a resume, by the way, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy. Like I felt like people were being a little mean to him, honestly. I mean, one of his statements was a little bit out there, but yeah, he's not a bad guy. People shouldn't get that mad at him.
No.
Wondering if you heard from any people that weren't sure, were on the fence, or maybe they thought Karen was guilty and then they changed their minds. I mean, it seemed like Joel, the host, is going that way. Did you hear from anyone after that show the other night?
I guess people were saying, I mean, I don't read what's going on the sideline while this is happening, just because it's too much processing going on at once. But I mean, some people were saying you're changing minds, which is fine. I mean, I didn't see it in live time, but that makes sense to me, because if you look at the initial, and I see this all the time in my own practice. I mean, when you see the initial press accounts of cases, when there are cases that are in the press, they're not all in the press. Generally, they start out with an open and shut prosecution. And this was certainly one of those examples. She hit him. There's glass on the lawn. She said, I hit him. There's Ring camera that shows her do it. Why would anybody not just watching the news initially think, wow, she's screwed. She's toast. It's over. But a funny thing happens when you dig and dig and dig. Sometimes you find out that your initial assumptions are not accurate and that there's really a problem here. And then you get phone records and get all this other stuff. And all of a sudden it turns into something dastardly went on. And it doesn't mean it's as dastardly as a murder, but that's kind of a pushback point too, that they fall in line with, there's no evidence that someone else did this. Well, that may literally be true at the moment, but they don't have to prove who did it. They just have to prove reasonable doubt. And they don't want to talk to you about the evidence which shows that there is a cover-up of some form. It's not a dirty word. Those text messages, all the deletions, all the weird texts, some of which they don't dispute, by the way, like in the aftermath of spying on the cops and making sure, what are they doing? Make sure, bring her over to meet the cop and all that. That's covering up something. If these are all innocent people, there's nothing to cover up. They were sleeping, they were unaware, and they had the misfortune of having a tragedy occur right outside their yard. And they just seem to ignore that or fall into the default. Well, it's all bullshit. It's all the forensic expert on the prosecution side will just clear that up. How do you know there's going to be these accident reconstruction people? I don't know, because the lawyers read it when they were arguing over the materials that were disclosed by the federal government? I mean, do they really think that, there's an expression that real lawyers use when they're dealing with other real lawyers? It's called real lawyers. Okay. You recognize who the real lawyers are. They may despise Alan Jackson. They may despise David Yannetti. That's fine, but they are real lawyers, and real lawyers generally don't go in a courtroom in front of a pack of TVs and start ranting and raving about items that we got from the federal government, which are going to show this, unless this isn't rocket science, it actually exists. And if it doesn't, well, then, you can question their ethics and whatnot. But I mean, do they seriously believe that they're making that up? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And then I've heard it turned into, I mean, this is the irony, because they'll laugh about conspiracies. You're all too tinfoil hat in this conspiracy. But in the same breath, they'll tell you, well, feds are working with Karen Read and, doing this together because she has a relationship with someone in the U.S. Attorney's Office, which means, ironically, in other words, you're saying there's a unproven conspiracy of the criminal defendant in this case and the federal government to screw over the wonderfully productive Norfolk DA and the more than competent, Canton Police Department and Massachusetts State Police. I mean, that's crazy.
Joel, who is the host of the STS podcast. I mean, for me, I really enjoyed that episode the other night when you were on to watch you.
I enjoyed it.
I wasn't, I guess I went, it's funny because I had just criticized them. I looked at my Twitter and there was a comment bashing them because I felt like they weren't being serious with the case. I felt like that they were too unknowledgeable, playing it loose. And then you went on there and destroyed. I think Joel respected you big time. It felt like he's moving in the right direction, which I respect. And they were definitely civil, which I really liked the conversation. Do you feel like he might be feeling pressure? Because I've seen him get attacked, and I felt like he wasn't even supporting Karen Read when he was being attacked.
No, I mean,
is there any indication he's feeling that pressure too?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't talk about it. I mean, I see what goes on, but I think where the pressure comes from, that for whatever reason, when people watch that one, because of the reasons you just stated, that a lot of people may perceive it had been a kind of a anti or just that a more accepting of she's probably guilty. There's law enforcement witnesses who generally are going to tell you that. So, and I think as a byproduct of that, these other people, they want an echo chamber. Okay. They want affirmation of their own beliefs. So they want to hear people say she's guilty. So I think by extension, at least previously, it would draw some of these people who are so into she's guilty of everything and this is awful. And so there are more eyes on it. And I think they might have been a little surprised at the tenor and where the conversation went, which leads to them criticizing anyone and everyone involved in it. And he's kind of the figurehead. So it doesn't shock me that some of them would just start criticizing anyone, again, for simply having a different view. I mean, it's about as un-American as it gets, by the way, to just literally criticize, hate, troll, whatever, because somebody thinks differently than you. We're adults. Let's all grow up and just deal with it.
And can you imagine some of these people just follow, there's a few of them that have basically gone after friends of mine, guests of mine, sponsors of mine, whoever is doing anything related to my life that they can find. And they go after and say, he did all this, blah, 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 blah. And then they think those people are crazy. It never works for them, but they continue to do that. Can you imagine spending your life doing that?
No, I can't imagine literally chasing down people for out reason, with one exception. I in full admission, what really piqued my interest in this, I might have told you this before. I followed this because, again, it was I read the Globe Sports and read the local, see what's going on, and was aware of this. And for about a year and a half, what I found most interesting about the case, and I didn't know anything about the real facts, what I found interesting were some of the allegations involving the DA's office with not disclosing evidence, cops who were not properly filling out reports, that ridiculous press conference, like lawyer type stuff. Not so much did she do it or not. And so that was kind of my primary interest in that. And then somebody alerted me to some of these Wendy Murphy things from a few months ago, where she's ranting and raving about she's presumed guilty, and if she doesn't testify, then that it means she and her lawyers were admitting she's guilty. And that I was just repulsed that a lawyer and former prosecutor could be that awful, that wrong, that dumb, that someone lacking such self-awareness to realize how dumb you sound and all of that. And so that's kind of what started it. And I think that's, somebody had asked earlier, I think that's how you first approached me, because like, who is this guy who's going after crazy Wendy? And that's how it started. And then I started looking at some of her crazy theories, and then I got more interested factually for, curiosity's sake, what's going on. And then within a couple of days reading what was going on, I mean, I just was aghast at, like, how could this possibly be proceeding? And I was also wondering why nothing was happening to the prosecutors for their ridiculous slow rolling disclosures, all of these other things that they weren't doing, failing to turn over exculpatory evidence. And it's interesting because Massachusetts, certainly the perception is, like New York, is a very liberal state in criminal justice, pro-discovery. And I started wondering what would happen if this was in New York. And I could tell you, this case would have been, even if it went forward, there would have been so many sanctions that probably would have already kneecapped this whole case if they had not disclosed evidence that was required to have been disclosed a year earlier. All this exculpatory evidence that they were denying existed, these ridiculous press conferences claiming there's no relationship between Proctor and all that, which is just, that's factually false. And the DA is manipulating and exploiting potential jurors, and and they get away with it here for some reason. And so all of that became a perfect storm of interest for me. And then I realized that this case is just as pretty much as awful as I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is bananas. Mazza, you have any comments on anything we've been discussing?
Yeah, no, it's an outrageous case. It's been an outrageous case from the jump, and that's because it's a cover-up to begin with, right? They had to cover something up, so they had to make it more and more outrageous. They had to put so many charges on her to begin with, and that's where it all goes back to, right? It's over charges. And when someone like Turtle Boy is tipped off about what's going on and then starts posting about it, the problem is you get these trolls out there for years and years and years since he's been blogging, who don't like him or been offended by his posts over the years, and then go on X and start to create a bunch of accounts and start attacking everybody. It's just been one of the most unfortunate parts of this whole saga, is just the online troll fair, basically, and to coin a phrase. And honestly, you get a lot of people out there that are probably operating multiple accounts anyways, and they go after you on X. It's, the same person operating anywhere between 2 and who knows, 20 accounts. I don't know, but it's just been one of the craziest things about this whole time, is just these people that come at you so personally for stating an opinion and a belief on why you believe Karen Read's innocent. And the thing is, it's different. It's not like I'm a Celtics fan telling Mavericks fans why the Celtics are going to beat them in 4 or 5 games, and then they're getting upset because they're passionate Mavericks fans. They can't see that their team's really not as good as they think it is, and that the Celtics are going to cakewalk to the NBA championship. It's different than that, right? These people just get simply offended. I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm a Celtics fan, and I disagree with you because, right? But with these trolls online, it's so personal to them because they don't like Turtle Boy. They always want to come up with some kind of saga and basically say, hey, how can you support this guy? How can you support this guy? You're out of your mind. You're taking the side of a known killer and Karen Read. It's like, folks, on the other side, no, we're not. Karen Read's factually innocent. We know she's factually innocent. If you look at any of this stuff with any relative level of logic, you can see that she's innocent. Just today on the news at noon, one segment before they talked about the Karen Read case, there was ring footage that was about a road rage incident that occurred somewhere in, I guess, Massachusetts, with a white vehicle and a black vehicle driving down the street, and the ring camera footage picked up the cars going by each other, bumping into each other, and one vehicle crashing in the yard. Well, the other vehicle speeds off into the day. This is a textbook case of an incident caught on ring camera footage that is followed from the left side of the frame to the right side of the frame, where you can see literally off to the right, which would be, in this particular case, what the viewpoint from 34 Fairview Road would have been on that morning when Karen had allegedly hit him. And it's like the same argument I've made over and over and over again. And of course, you guys have, and everybody else has. If Karen Read really did it, then where's the footage? Why is there no footage from 34 Fairview? Why is there no footage from across the street? Why is there no footage from next door? We have actually someone's camera footage or whatever from the emergency vehicles being there later in the morning. And it just gets back to the same old thing. What is the logic in all of this? It's not logical for ring camera footage to not be readily available from any doorbell in the neighborhood. That is not logical. When we saw this, I saw this video I posted today to my X page. That is a normal situation. Something happened in front of somebody's house. Their ring camera footage picked it up, and within however long, maybe it was a day later, that footage was presented to the media. It circulated online. It was out there. In a normal set of circumstances, if Karen Read had truly hit John O'Keefe the way that they said that she did, or in general, that footage would not to this day never have been not seen. It would have been seen. You would have seen that stuff on the news right when it happened. It's like any other thing when a brawl happens or a fight happens in public or some kind of accident happens. If it's caught on camera, it's usually on the news within a 24 to 72-hour period. So if Karen Read had hit him and there was ring footage, that footage would have been submitted a long time ago. And the thing is, if you're the people trying to cover this up, and you don't want to go down for it, then having the footage of Karen Read hitting him that you believe exists for those of you on the other side of this belief system, then why not just get the footage right away and say, well, here you go. There's nothing you can say. Karen Read's guilty. We have footage of her doing it. But if you don't have footage of her doing it, then what would you do? You'd make sure that footage never saw the light of day. You'd make sure that, oh, well, my ring camera must have not have been working that morning, and other things would come up. And that's basically what we have here. And this is why most people believe in a cover up, and you have more and more people that are following this story now than they were 5 weeks ago, because the more and more people do research and find out about this stuff, the more they're like, man, this is a cover up. How is there no ring footage? If there was evidence of her doing it, it would have been caught on somebody's camera, but it was not. And it's a mystery. It's become a controversial mystery, because the people that covered it up have made it that particular way, because they've had to kind of trace, go back over their steps and try to cover it up. And that's what me and many others allege, is that there's this clear cover up here. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a coincidence that library footage is missing. There's footage missing from the Canton PD's Sallyport. There's footage missing from ring camera footage on people's doorbells. It's too much. I think, Mark, you've said this multiple times. It's too much of a coincidence, and it defies logic. Under normal circumstances, it would be no different than what we saw today on the news at noon if you were watching. A road incident happened. That was a separate story. It was caught on camera. It was submitted to the news. The police are looking for the culprit. That is how a normal news story and a normal crime story should unfold under normal circumstances in most cases. In this particular case, it's a mystery, because people, hands were at work trying to cover this thing up. And then you have people related to the or close with the state trooper that investigated the situation. You now have a state trooper that may not be called on the stand now in this particular case by the prosecution, I'm sorry. You have all these things that just keep happening, and there's just no way in any normal set of circumstances that there is this level of coincidence. Oh, well, this hadn't happen, and this also wasn't caught on tape, and the state police officer that investigated them happened to know the family. That doesn't happen, and this is why I think this story is so captivating. They talked about that on the WBZ Evening News tonight when they were covering the protest outside of Michael Morrissey's office. It's a captivating, and I thought they didn't explain it as well as they should have. They're like, well, people are interested in it because of, it helps them confront their dark sides. That's not true at all. People are interested in things like, you look at the JFK assassination. That's a story for many that is still captivating to this day, and it's been 60 years later. And it's still, many find that story captivating. It's because there's a lot to uncover there. There's a lot of, did this happen or did it not happen? Did this happen in the way that they say that it happened? Was it really Lee Harvey Oswald? Was it really a government hit job? Was there more than one shooter? Was there a shooter on the grassy knoll? Why was there no roof on JFK? These are the things that captivate people's thought processes. This is why when you're hosting a show right now, that there's so many viewers and there's so much interest and there's so many people in Facebook groups, there's so many people online, because when you have a story like this where it's just like, man, that seems like that's definitely controversial. This doesn't make, and that's what got me way back when. It was like, this doesn't make any sense. No wonder why all these people are out there with signs outside the court. To this very day, they're outside of the DA's office protesting him today, to this very day a year later, because it's a controversial story. And anybody with a logical mind, which is all of us on this side, really, because it's certainly not the people on the other side, how do you not sit here and say, man, there's something afoot here? This is definitely a cover-up. There's no way a story like this would get to that kind of interest. Back to you guys.
It'll get 1,000 times worse, because if a lot of these people don't understand how a trial works and how it progresses, and if you think it's bad now, it hasn't even started how bad this is going to get. And that's why the reason I'm quite comfortable in telling you, in my view, this is hopeless for them no matter what they do at this point, because they have already established everything that you've said, or at least established isn't even the right word, put it out there as plausible. That's the word from a defense side that you would use. This is plausible. But when you sprinkle on all of the evidence that they're going to offer, it's going to get much worse. But that's not even it either. At the end of the trial, when a real lawyer who's experienced and knows what he's doing gets up and sums up on everything and marshals the evidence and puts it all together and basically says something along the lines of, in order to dismiss this idea that the Alberts and McCabe's and Proctor and all these people were somehow doing something shady at a time where they shouldn't have been, you would have to dismiss all of the following as perfectly normal, understandable, and acceptable. And then here you go for 20 minutes between deleted messages at this time, but only those messages are deleted. All the butt dials followed immediately by the Google search, okay, followed by everything else with the relationships, the meetings, the glass with Chief Wiggum, I forget his name, Berkowitz,
yeah.
All of this, the Sally Port, the gathering of the evidence. One of these ought to give you concern, but I've just given you about 47 of these that can't be unless something afoot is going on here that's not right. And then they're going to work in all the other stuff. Somebody said Chloe the dog. Yes, now nobody could hear that. They're going to talk about, they'll make a big deal out of the lack of DNA, but the DNA is useless because they just sent in some swabs that come from the so-called corrupt cop. So they're going to get into how all of the forensic evidence is going to be compromised, because at some point it's all going to come back to Proctor and the Sally Port with the Solo cups. Is that where the DNA came from? The polycarbonate light, the this, the that. You could go on. And then, as if that's not all bad enough, after that, the jury is going to get charged by, the judge, who's going to read them an instruction on what reasonable doubt is, and that you have to find that, there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty based on everything that they've just been told, for which the DA is really going to have no argument. Well, our expert says this is hopeless for them.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be such a huge advantage for the defense in the summations on many levels. Number one, charisma. And, not that charisma necessarily wins cases, but it helps. It helps that when that the attorney, who I assume would be Jackson, I don't know that, but I would imagine it would be, is doing the defense summation, it's going to project from him that this guy really believes what he's saying. And there's an anger, a controlled anger built into what he's doing, because he actually believes that she's innocent. He believes what he's saying and all of this. And then you're going to get, the so-called wet loaf of bread who's going to schlub up to the podium, white knuckle the podium, turn all bright red, and just kind of flip a notepad and say, well, this witness said this and this witness said that, so she must be guilty. And in terms of him projecting confidence, he's going to be projecting what he projected everything else during this trial, which is just get through this. Just get through this. You can do this. I mean, it's almost like he looks like he's just trying to get through it as opposed to connecting with the jury. And this is only going one way. It just is.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get a lot worse. They haven't even begun to really start crushing
Wait
them.
till Proctor comes out. That's what I'm waiting for. Proctor. I just want to make a couple programming notes right now. I want to thank our mods. We got 3 awesome women who moderate our YouTube chat. Make sure everyone's good and nice, and be nice to them. I think we haven't had any problems in a while because we got great mods. I want to thank them so much. They're also posting a bunch of links. One of them we just pinned, which is the Karen Read Defense Fund. If you want to support Karen Read, she needs money right now for this defense. It's going on and on and on and on. She's going to bring out experts. She's going to fly them out. If you want to make a donation, the link is at the top of the YouTube chat. Hit it now because we're going to change. Every once in a while we change what's pinned up there. Probably going to pin the Young Jurks merchandise or something like that next. So if you want to make a donation, you want to find it, it's pinned at the top. We got a bunch of questions or super chats coming in. One of them from Rosemary. She wants to know about Mark. She wants to confirm a bet or to confirm or deny. Are you a Libra by chance?
Close. Virgo.
Yeah, he's a Virgo. Sorry, Rosemary.
Close. I think
very
right close to the cutoff too. I think it's like mid-September. Very close. Almost.
Here's another one. Ask Bob just said, Mike, help needed, time running out to oppose Rafferty's contract extension. This is the chief of police in Canton. There's a big select board meeting the other night. We talked about it. He says he must email the Canton Select Board and say no to the renewal. There's the email address. It's BOS, Board of Selectmen, BOS at town.canton.ma.us. You see it there. We're going to have maybe Reader on tomorrow night to talk more about that too. So
does that email funnel to Chris Albert's mailbox?
Yes, it will go to Chris Albert. Go with Chris Albert and all the select board members.
Good luck with that. Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that. But I know people are emailing, so we'll see what happens. I think we all have an expectation, not much, but I think emailing's a good idea. Furious writes, did you see the clip from the first 48 hours of X? I'm glad you brought this up. The victim had the same injuries as John O'Keefe, and his friend tried to say he got hit by a car. Cops immediately on the scene said, this is no car accident. Turns out he got jumped and died. And the reason they said that is what I stick to from the very beginning. No matter, you can look at every other piece of evidence. It doesn't matter. No injuries on the legs, no injuries in the middle of the body. Where did John impact that car? The taillight didn't kill John. Like, he's got the gash in the back of the head. It makes no sense. And the cops knew in that case, the video, you can see it. It's just like John O'Keefe. It's the same thing. And in this case, they ignored all the evidence and they just decided to pin it on somebody else.
I mean, I didn't see this clip, and I would just always be cautious how one fact pattern can sound similar, but there can always be a very big variance or nuance which could change everything. But so just kind of putting the 48 hours to the side. I mean, look, none of us are medical experts, but sometimes you don't need to be a medical expert for the most basic common sense, which is if there was an impact with a car, even at that speed, which feels low, but I suppose an expert would be better equipped to tell you that there's got to be some point of impact and trauma to the body. And the only real point that would even qualify for that would be the back of his head, which doesn't make much sense, just given everything else that. And that, to me, the belt, we've talked about this before. I think that's a big deal, actually. I don't like to get too pinned down on any particular piece of evidence being important, but there is video of him right before he left wearing a belt, and the belt is gone. And so it kind of tells you two things. Number one, it's not going to get knocked off in a low impact car accident. But also, number two, if it did, then it would be right where the taillight was, right where the missing shoe was, and there's no belt. And I think, did they even find the hat? I don't remember. But where the hell is the belt? And I don't want to get too tinfoil, but a belt can be used as a restraint. It can be used as a carrying mechanism. There could be a good reason to take a belt off. It doesn't mean they did. I'm not going like, I don't know. But what I do know is there's no belt on the man's pants, and that makes no sense for a car accident.
There we go. Another question here from TD89. He said, Mark, you're the best. Have you practiced before Juan Merkin? Will he
Mershon.
leave the bench? Or I don't
Yeah.
know who that is. Yeah,
He's
Mershon.
Juan Mershon. He's the judge who presided over the Trump case. Yeah, no, I've been in
Oh,
front of
he's a Trump judge.
Yeah, no, I've been in front of him many times. I like him. Everyone likes him. To be candid, I didn't like how he handled this particular case. I thought he should have recused himself. Not because he was literally biased, but there's an appearance of bias. Everyone's watching that case. I think it was important that the public, whatever you think of Trump or not, have the fullest confidence in the system. And, I like Judge Mershon, but he did donate money to Joe Biden. He did donate to other organizations that were specifically anti-Trump. His daughter is a very big Democrat, money bundler, activist. Again, I'm not getting into party politics. I'm just saying the appearance. Yeah, I don't like it. But in terms of him being corrupt and all that, no, he's a good judge.
Excellent. Glad we could get that out there. It's so funny. Normally I would know all about this stuff. I'd be following it, but with the Karen Read, I don't even I don't pay attention to anything else anymore. It's so weird.
Right before I came on here and changed out of my, again, lawyer bat suit, I was doing a TV hit on a Trump thing. And the last question she asked is not one I expected, but it was like the last parting shot was, would you represent Donald Trump, whether it be on an appeal or, for anything else? And I gave about a half a second of pregnant pause and said, absolutely not.
Smart attorney.
Well, he's, you'd have to make sure you get the money in the bank and make sure the check clears, number one. And number two, I don't want to get into Trump personally. It doesn't matter what you think or what you don't think.
It's just we're not a good client. It's like me with dog walking. The first thing when I meet a new client, I'm evaluating, I want to serve these people?
Everyone who comes into contact with him, whether it be lawyer, a friend, whatever, they all get damaged in some way. And no thanks.
No way.
No.
That's exactly it. I wouldn't walk his dogs. You know what I mean? I'll walk like the most middle class people. I would not walk Trump's dogs. And there's a reason he would not be a good customer. He doesn't have any dogs. But I know.
But he's very vocal about, he doesn't like dogs, which for me is another reason I don't want to be around.
Yeah, that's another good reason. Exactly. And even if he got a dog, I would not walk his dog. No way. There's nothing to do with politics. Just he would not be a good customer. I know it.
You probably would not get paid.
Exactly. And his dog would not be well behaved. I guarantee you. All kinds of issues. And then they complain. Yeah. He's one of those people that doesn't pay and then complains. Now we've turned off a bunch of people who like Trump. I'm sorry, people. Sometimes you're too honest. A lot of comments coming in. Mazza, you want to weigh in on anything?
Like dog walking Trump's dog, you mean?
Yeah, Trump dog walking. I don't know. No, anything else? Anything?
No, I know that the Trump thing's aside, a major issue in our country. But just to kind of, for what's so great about the Karen Read movement is that whether you're right side, left side, or indifferent, we can all unify behind this and support Karen. I know Rita's been an amazing proponent of exactly that kind of sentiment, which is, people coming together regardless of politics and just fighting for Karen Read's cause. And I think that's been one of the great things about this is that people are just working with people together to back up Karen Read. And I think one of the most notable moments recently was that when the discussion was talking about that Karen and John fought a lot. And to me, that was kind of one of the most laughable things that came out of the trial recently was because that they fight, and it sounded like the kid was coached up to say that.
In other
You know,
words, they're normal. That's
that's
what
right.
people, I mean, that's humanizing.
That's
I
right.
think that's actually
That's right.
sincere.
Just
I
like
agree.
everybody else.
That's right, exactly. I mean, what kind of couple has never been in a fight? I mean, and I don't mean like a physical confrontation, let's be clear, but a verbal confrontation, getting pissy with each other, getting angry with each other, disagreements, occasionally, getting something thrown at you, like a frying pan, perhaps might be normal behavior. I don't know, but that's all normal stuff. When I heard that, I'm like, are they really trying to get before the jury and try to get that point? Oh, this couple got in arguments and debates. Actually, a lot of times, it can be a sign of an unhealthy couple, but a lot of times it can be a sign of an extremely healthy couple because communication's key. And a lot of times through heated argument and confrontation, that can be something that does happen. Is that a lot of times couples get very animated and loud with each other, and then 20 minutes later everything's all hunky dory, and it's just not an argument to make. And I'd argue again that that's a normal functioning couple, but to a kid, from a kid's perspective, any kind of argument, back and forth can come off a lot more confrontational than it is to a kid than from the eyes of an adult. And for any adult like us, it's like, oh yeah, they're arguing. Yeah, that's couple stuff, and you have some person say, I've been arguing with my wife for 40 years. It never stops. That's just normal. That's normal. But I guess from
Yeah.
a kid's perspective, maybe that could be, an argument between adults could seem a lot more than it is. But yeah, someone goes, please don't throw frying pans. Yeah, I know. Agreed.
Yeah.
No frying
Yeah.
pan
No
throwing,
frying
please.
pans.
No more politics. We're
My,
done.
my girlfriend and I start yelling at each other, and
Yeah.
then halfway through, we'll start laughing.
Yeah.
Like
I
that's
cra-
literally, we'll be all heated, and then like I'll imitate her or she'll imitate me, and we just start cracking up. It's like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
over. But to a kid,
Yeah.
you're right. Like that would seem
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh my god, they'd fight."
Yeah.
But it's like
Well,
we
you
just
raise an interesting point, which is the whole concept of calling the kids, who, on top of being kids who get thrusted into this high profile thing that they don't want to be a part of, they've already experienced a level of tragedy that's just incomprehensible. I mean, this is the third caretaker in however many years that they lost in three separate incidents. And the idea that they would call these kids initially, my thought was, well, it depends. What are they going to say? If it turns out that they're going to testify just about, they fought, that's unseemly. I mean, what's the point of doing that? And so they kind of testified about that. Then they also, at least one of them testified, what we're told, because nobody saw it, about the Ring camera that she apparently didn't have access to, which probably means that's another one of these bizarre coincidences that maybe Proctor or whoever, did that. But you're left with, so why did they call the kids? What did they gain from that? And you do have to wonder if jurors get upset by that for calling them, if they don't call all of the other witnesses who they should call, whether that be Proctor, who I guess now people think he will testify as a DA witness, but other troopers or whoever. And to me, you have a case where they're in the process of calling 70 witnesses or whatever it is, and you're calling these women from Aruba, which was a real dud. You're calling these kids, which it sounds like it didn't land and was more of a dud and more cruel to them than adding any value to the case against Karen. And you just, there's something really unseemly about that, unless there was something really bombshell or significant that these kids were going to testify to. And it turns out that the so-called bombshell favored the defense by wiping out this argument that it was Karen who might have played with the camera. I mean, it's leading with your chin again. I mean, it's the same concept, really.
yeah, it's amazing. This is another example of them just totally screwing up and like like so much in life is under promise, over deliver. They do the opposite. They over promise and under deliver every time. And this is the like perfect example of it.
I don't know how they do anything they do. And some of it isn't even the kind of thing that maybe non-lawyers look at, but we can't help but look at certain things. Like, I'm fascinated by the fact that there are 2 or 3 prosecutors sitting in the courtroom and nobody does anything other than this guy. in a case of this magnitude where there's so many witnesses, there's so much to do. And he has these other two, I'm assuming ADAs, or at least one of them is, because I know she's argued in court and likes to object every now and then, which is a whole nother story. But what are they doing? Why are they there? Is there not any way to divide the labor and let them do something? Are they not capable? Are they not allowed? I mean, it's fascinating to me, just as a lawyer, to see that Lally is there holding the bag by himself, and the other two are just there to flip through exhibits and do nothing substantive. And it doesn't work. I mean, you see the way the defense is doing it. It's a big case. It's a lot of stuff to break up. And they have three lawyers doing various things. And you can kind of sense the pattern and how they divide the labor. I mean, it feels to me that, Jackson's doing the big stuff, although Yannetti is very good and does a lot of that too. But they're giving Liza some of the lesser witnesses, if you will, but to let her do something and give them a rest and a break. And the DA is not doing that. And that's really weird to me.
That's 3 against 1. 3
Yeah,
like top
and he's
notch versus 1 not.
and he's getting smothered. And again, there's a huge talent gap already as it is. And he's taking on water and he's getting destroyed witness by witness. And there's just nobody to try to release some of that pressure on their side to do anything. I mean, if you're going to give the guy credit for anything, he shows up, like we said, it's time to make the donuts, and he makes the donuts and he goes home. And then the next morning he's back to make the donuts. It's crazy.
Right.
Did you,
Oh.
I'll ask a quick question for Mark. Were you impressed with how David Yannetti took the baton from Alan Jackson on Tuesday morning with the cross-examination? There was almost no drop off. Doesn't that kind of really, in a nutshell, demonstrate how on fire this defense team is and how much in unison they are, that it doesn't matter what attorney did cross-examination, even if there were two doing cross-examination on the same witness, there was no drop off. The same message was delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea that they had just the optics of having one attorney leave, and I look, the judge, maybe if we're willing to take 10 days off in a row, maybe there was a way to prevent that from happening. Again, not a performance level, because I agree with you, they're both that was seamless. But I hate that the judge makes it in a way where a lawyer in the middle of an important cross-examination has to leave, and you don't want the jury to speculate why. But as far as the cross-examination itself, the second day of Higgins, I thought that was Yannetti's best cross in the entire trial. I thought it was one of the high watermarks that they've had. He completely, immediately got out of his chair and let him know who's in charge. Here's how we're going to do it. I want yeses or nos. We're going to do it my way. Not even introducing himself. I like that. Just get up and say, I'm in charge. You're going to give me what I want. And then you'll get off the stand. So I thought that was his best moment in the whole trial, was a completely effective and highly productive examination of Higgins, because I think the second day, I mean, Higgins was deduced to becoming, a caricature of himself. He was a joke. He clearly exposed himself to perjury. He clearly sounds ridiculous in how he wants to dispose of his phone. He sounds ridiculous about everything he was saying, and he looked really nervous, everything. Yeah. So the fact that they had two lawyers who could, without missing a beat, literally tag team an examination, which is never done, by the way. I mean, that's something you never see. And it went off fine. So yeah, I think it speaks again to the talent level, preparation, organization, skill set to do that. He was great in that cross.
We got a lot of super chat questions. A good one right here is, do we know what percentage of jurors research their cases?
You hope it's zero. That's what it's supposed to be. Not that I'm, delusional about real life. It's supposed to be zero. And I want to be careful what I say here. If because I don't believe this is the case, I certainly hope it's not the case, and I'm not encouraging it. But if you can't ignore the reality that if jurors in this case were doing something that they should not be doing, it would favor Karen Read, like, overwhelmingly, because the majority of the coverage and nobody cares about, lunatics on Twitter who, are fake people and whatever. That's not what they're looking at. Think about the way you look at it, never mind a juror. You Google, when you're done Googling how long to die in the cold, you Google the names of the people. And if you see what's out there, it's not good. On the other hand, even if you're not Googling, if you just read the Boston Globe, or in this case,
The
even
Herald.
worse,
Yeah, the front of the Herald. Yeah.
if you read the Herald and you read the Howie Carr stuff, that ain't good for the DA
Right.
for all the obvious reasons. So, I mean, it's very rare that you see a case where the public is probably 90 to 10 in favor of the defense, to the point where, as you've described, you kind of have a movement going on. I mean, that's what
Exactly.
it is. And
That's what it is. It's hard to not
I
say
mean,
it as a movement, because it
there's
is.
a billboard outside Gillette
Yeah, you're
Stadium.
right.
My
The
God, with
fundraising going on. Yeah,
with
it's just,
what do you call it? What do you the thing to take a picture with your phone to like donate the I'm brain farting.
the
Like the
GoFundMe.
barcode thing,
Yeah,
that
the barcode thing. Yeah,
whatever it is.
The QR code.
QR
Thank you.
code. There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
I mean, that it's a full-fledged thing. So, they're exposed to it if they're looking, and what they would see is something good. Now, having said that, they shouldn't be looking. They focus on what happens in the courtroom. But if they do that, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to have a happy ending.
Ooh, here's something weird that I didn't hear about. Kay says the testimony of the kids was leaked by Hot Mike on NBC 10. I'm wondering if anything was said about it in the courtroom. I didn't hear about that. I shut it off. Like, I was streaming. I shut it down during that period. So I don't know. Definitely did happen on our channel. I hadn't heard anything about it. Had you guys, either one of you, has heard anything about that?
No, not
No.
anything. I had shut it down myself during that time frame as well.
So hope no. I mean, it's the risk they take doing this. That just they should have never put those kids on. There was no reason for it.
Can I tell you, just as an aside too? I mean, obviously this case is in Massachusetts, and the Herald is just crushing them on a daily basis. If this case was in New York City, okay, I mean, obviously you can understand the media there is a lot more than Boston. Not that it's small. What the New York Post would be doing to this case would just potentially just blow it out of the water, because they would just be relentless constantly. Like the Herald times 10 was something like this. And there have been stories, in the New York papers here, but they're just kind of like general, almost like AP style. They're very generic just with what's happening. There's no opinion pieces. There would be opinion pieces like Howie Carr's style in the Post, and it would be just vicious, because anybody who is following this and is open-minded to what's going on seems to reach the same conclusion, which is something is off with the cops and the Alberts and McCabe's, and wishing it wasn't so does not make it not so. The fact of the matter is they're covering up something, and everyone who's honest to the evidence can see that. It's only a question of what are they covering up, and the answer may not be as much as the defense wants it to be, but it doesn't have to be. They just have to create doubt. But the key point is there's only one common denominator to what they could be covering up, and that it's got to relate to what happened to John O'Keefe in some capacity. And when the jury believes that, that's it. I mean, even without even talking about all the other evidence that we've talked about again and again, that's going to lead to reasonable doubt, because they are never, Lally, that is never going to be able to explain why these people were doing the things that they were doing when they should have been asleep. And even in the immediate days after, why were they sending Matt McCabe to spy on, the cops, and go to the Asian people's house and report this and take pictures, and here's the story for the press or the police, whatever it is. And do the police know everything? Can we bring Kerry Roberts over? What is she saying? I need to go to Proctor's house. Let's get Proctor's wife a gift. I mean, you could go on, and destroying phones, butt dials. This is a joke. I mean, from an evidentiary standpoint and a burden of proof standpoint, it's a joke. That's not meant to be disrespectful to somebody dying who's a good man, obviously. What I mean is the case from just a legal analysis standpoint is a complete joke.
Another question. They wanted you to speak about the way Higgins seems to lie with his words, too many words, using words incorrectly. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking to me that this is a 15-year federal agent and he testifies as poorly as like a high school kid would. He's clearly not bright. He's clearly not the type of federal agent that when you want to believe are the distinguished federal agents. He wouldn't admit certain things that it's a little different than like the McLaughlin thing, but it's kind of similar because when you're fighting over things that are obvious and stupid, all it does is invite the jury to say, if this guy's going to play it this way on this stuff, why should I believe him when he says I had to go take my garbage and dump the phone because, I was going undercover and I didn't want anyone to have my number. So naturally, 2 months later, I got rid of my phone. I mean, that makes no sense. But he was arguing over little things about, you remember like the difference between he wanted a romantic relationship versus a sexual relationship. I mean, give me a break. Or
When you're in love, aren't they the same thing?
and he said, I
Usually
want
at the very beginning, that honeymoon period, it's like it's love and sex, right? Like they go hand in hand when you're like,
but
come on.
even worse than that was this whole concept where he was upset about getting ghosted, and then he saw her at the bar and he didn't care, and he wouldn't say I was getting ignored when everyone watching is like, we call
You're getting
that
ignored.
getting ignored.
He knew it because he
Again,
sent her that message.
that I'm getting to that. So
Yeah,
after
sorry.
he after he builds him up to sound like an idiot, well, you send her a text that says, well, like with a question
like,
mark.
look at me. Why are you ignoring me?
Clearly,
a child, like a child.
Metaphorically speaking, jumping up and down, like what's going on? I
Look at me, mom,
right.
mom,
And,
like one of them.
And there's no response to that. So again, you're getting ignored. And that, that's not how I see it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's not how I see it. Yeah.
Well, if you open your eyes, you might see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry you don't deal with reality, buddy.
So, it's interesting because when he first started testifying on direct, to me, he started out similar to like a Brian Albert, demeanor wise, polished, or at least the appearance of being polished. I thought Albert, as it turns out, was much more polished than Higgins. And I think Higgins was scared. And by the end of it, I think he did the DA's case a lot of damage. And I don't see any way that the jurors are not going to be troubled by his relationship with Berkowitz and contacts with him in the Sally Port, and even more importantly, perhaps the 222, 223 exchange of butt dials. Now that's got to be a first. It's bad enough when you say there are 10 butt dials. That's not possible. But can you imagine
back and forth? Yeah.
They have a scenario where one guy butt dialed his friend and didn't know, but miraculously a minute later, the other one butt dialed back for 22 seconds. And then 3 minutes later, how long to die in the cold? I mean, this is the kind of stuff in a summation that the DA is just going to like hide their head under the table and say, how do I respond to this?
Yeah. Or they could just be lying. I mean, I mean, what makes more sense? I think them lying is obviously the logical answer there, right?
I think part of the argument that the defense will make too is, and like take someone like McCabe in particular, the ease and willingness and nastiness with which she's willing to look you in the eye and deny that 2 + 2 is 4. Okay. I mean, you could have had a 30-minute exam if they really wanted to, about not just the deleted phone calls or whatnot, but the did I hit him versus I hit him. I mean, when I heard that she testified in the grand jury over and over again, did I hit him? Did I hit him? And everything else was, did I hit him? And and this was very good work by the defense to establish that the first time she said, I hit him, was after the McCabe's and Alberts were taking the heat because of the Turtle Boy stuff. So they really wanted to stick it to her and shift the attention to people will give us more sympathy if we're victims and had nothing to do with this. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Everything the defense is arguing about this has logic and makes sense. I will admit the 6 butt dials that she made, it didn't strike me as that's weird. Not that she didn't do it, but they had a theory about it. They're looking for his phone. And you know what? I heard that and I said, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
That
Big
makes
time makes
perfect
sense.
to me. And I don't wear tinfoil hats. I know a lot of these people.
That's the only time I would ever call someone 6 times in a row, period. Never mind butt dial or normal dial. Like, why would you call someone 6 times in a row?
Back. They needed to get that phone back and put it with him and whatnot. I think, and again, they don't have to prove that. Is that a plausible
Just common
argument?
sense, yeah.
Yes.
And it's common. It's most likely too. Like, I can't think of anything that is like, it's like the simplest solution makes the most sense, right?
It does. And when you have 3 witnesses who are all up to their necks in this cover up, each of them individually on their own use the word, well, it's a butt dial. It's a butt dial.
Huh.
I listen again, the
Team butt dial.
likelihood of, and I'll tell you something. I mean, I think Brian Albert is the only one who said, well, I butt dial all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem with like people like McCabe is, let me get this straight. You butt dialed right then and there at this critical time, but then they happen to get deleted. But they weren't deleted from, and the only reason we know about these calls because they're showing up on O'Keefe's phone, which they were looking for. And all of this other stuff, I didn't make the Google search because I was looking at basketball scores.
Yeah, Ozone basketball.
I'm looking at high school basketball scores at 2:30 in the morning after I just got home.
Yeah. Come on.
I mean, maybe, but again, who are you giving the benefit of the doubt here based upon her demeanor, her credibility, and her otherwise denying every other common sense fact? And it doesn't make sense. And by the time you get to the summations, these lawyers are going to point all this out, and Lally is going to be flailing like a fish out of water, and they're just going to have no answer for all of these really good arguments that the defense is making.
How often does a butt dial occur? I'd say extremely rarely.
Yeah.
Let alone like 99
Not
times.
and especially not over and over again. Like that's you might do it once, and it's because you didn't, after you made a phone call, you thought it was locked, you put it in your pocket, it dials somebody. But that happens once. It doesn't happen 9 times in a row. That's
more common with phones 25 years ago as well than it is with a more modern phone.
You have lock screens. I mean, of course. I mean, I think that may be the biggest distinction now is that in order to do this, your phone has to be open. But if these people are all telling you we're asleep, then the phones are not open. And even if the phone is open, I mean, I can take my phone right here and open it. It still takes several, for lack of a better term, manipulations of the phone, pushing buttons, flipping through apps to butt dial. And then also the other thing is interesting is this: a lot of times when people make what we're calling a butt dial, like an accidental mistake or whatever, aren't the majority of the butt dials to people that you would never call? They're just because their contact name comes up alphabetically. Have you noticed that every single butt dial here occurs at the worst time for them, calling the worst person?
Yeah,
exactly. Well said. Extremely well said.
I mean, I don't butt dial because I know how to use a phone, at least not on purpose. But if I was going to butt dial, I guarantee you the person that I would call would be somebody from high school or college that I haven't spoken to in 30 years or whatever, and called them at 3 a.m. and was like, yeah, sorry about that. And then the other thing is it would just go on, and I'd be listening to them for 3 minutes on my voicemail. I mean, I feel like they're just flailing around about this, and I'm really curious to see their forensic technology expert, because I don't know literally what he's going to say, but I'm of the mind that he isn't going to be nearly as good for the DA as they're suggesting. Not that he won't offer possible explanations for why the original search could have been at 6 o'clock. But what I suspect is going to happen is that on cross, he's going to allow for the defense theories to be that's possible. And if that's the case, that's a win for the defense.
Yeah. So it's what are the chances a jury splits the baby, believes Karen was drunk and accidentally hit John for the lesser?
Uh, Zero. Well, zero is too low a number. No, I mean the defense here is all or nothing. I mean, the defense here is there's no car accident. So if the jury is debating whether there is a car accident, but now we're stuck on intoxication, then something has gone sideways here. I mean, the reason why a jury is not going to do that is because let's take intoxication out of this entirely and just say it's either a car accident or it's not, whatever intentional or otherwise. If there is a car accident and she did it, then you're willing to set aside everything we've just spent 30 minutes saying you can't set aside: the butt dials, the text messages, the deletions, the how long to die in the cold. So the answer from this is why I've said to you maybe a week or two ago, all of this talk about intoxication, I don't want to literally say who cares,
Yeah.
but who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because she drove from the waterfall to 34 Fairview and then 34 Fairview to John's house without any incidences on the road. No
And
skidding,
all the
sledding up.
people, yeah, all the people said she was sober. Everyone that got
Yeah.
asked, the police officer, everybody said no, she didn't seem drunk. Nobody said she seemed drunk.
Yeah, they
It's
talked about
very,
her blood alcohol level, and it was like through the roof. It was like
Yeah.
what,
it's
0.13 to
very
0.27? Yeah.
it's very interesting that in terms of observations by individuals, and at this point, we are in Lally land. There, he's asked about 20 people, and whatever the actual number is, every single one of them has said, "I saw no visible signs of anything,"
Yeah.
including the people in the bar and all of that. And then they have this test that's done, and it's not a perfect
It's
formula.
shaky. Yeah, it's
Well,
a
it
shaky
it
test.
relies
A lot of variable. Yeah.
yeah, but not just variables that come from the state police. And that's why the defense is working thematically. And this is why they're going to undo any DNA on the back of the car. Where did it come from? When you talk to some of these loonies and yahoos and they say, oh, you're ignoring, we hear there's going to be DNA and glass on the back of the car. And I'm not, maybe there will, I don't know. And you would say in the normal case, that's really bad. I mean, it's not a good fact. But then if it turns out that it comes from evidence from an insecure or unsecured crime scene, from a corrupt state police officer who probably should be prosecuted and fired yesterday, and all this other stuff, that was evidence that was left in a Sally port where all these people who are potential bad actors had access to it. I mean, is it really asking a lot without a burden of proof to say to the jury, maybe there's a reason you shouldn't rely on that? I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Absolutely. I love this comment. This is a good comment right here. They said, they all look so dumb using the same term
Yep.
butt dial. I
That's
personally
what I
use
was
the term
talking about.
pocket dial.
Yep.
I use the term misdial myself. So there's different terms for it.
I
They all
agree.
use butt dial.
I use butt dial for the joke, but this is what I was trying to say inarticulately earlier, is that all three of them on their own, presumably without having any discussion, all immediately jumped to butt dial. It almost sounds planned and
Yeah.
contrived amongst each other at these, whether
Say
they
it
be
isn't so.
Yeah,
cemetery
right.
side
Like
meetings.
they had a meeting about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And
Yeah.
Did they do the text thing?
that's what it sounds like. It sounds contrived.
Great comment from FKR 2024. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
People are asking about the DA too. We got Tommy here. He made a comment about the DA putting out the blatant lies, and then this one
He
we've
should be
discussed it before, but they want to know: will Morrissey, on the defense list, is he going to be called?
So it is virtually unprecedented to throw the elected DA who's not really handling the case up there. But there is one avenue here, which of course you'd have to get through the judge to do it. But there is an argument potentially that depending on what Proctor says about the relationship with all of these people, there may be a way to backdoor to try to establish why they were all saying there was no relationship. And it's concerning. Now, should the jury hear this is the real question. But if you forget the jury for 1 minute, it is disgraceful that the elected DA gave a press conference in what he did. He violated, by my count, probably 10 ethical rules under the Massachusetts code, which, by the way, is identical to the New York code. So I can speak quite confidently on that without state to state nuance, because every state essentially has the same generally ethical rules. And for him to literally say that this is ridiculous, that there is no relationship with these people to potential jurors is so unethical. And as if it's not bad enough, he's never even had the guts or integrity to say, you know what, I got that wrong and I shouldn't have said this. And of course, it begs the next question, which is Morrissey a deliberate, intentional liar, or is that what he was told by Lally and Proctor, who basically said, I'm telling you it didn't happen, and this is how you backdoor it in? Proctor's credibility is a huge issue in this case. And if the defense is able to admit evidence that Proctor lied to the DA, okay, about his relationship, that is powerful stuff, because that can undermine the DA's credibility in prosecuting the case and lead to the argument that you can't trust anything this guy said, because he's not just willing to lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. He lied to the people bringing the case, the very people that entrusted him to find John O'Keefe's killer. He's been lying to them the whole time. And so, depending on what Proctor says, you could get Morrissey in there. Now, the first way you do it, though, is they have to ask Proctor, did you tell Morrissey? Did you tell Lally? And you'll get the objections. And look, what comes next. In this particular court, probably it's going to get shut down. I think that would be inappropriate. I think if you can establish that Proctor lied to the prosecutors, the jury should have every right to know that, when his credibility is one of the central issues in the entire case. And we know he lied.
Another comment from Luna's mom. She says errant dials happen these days right after a previous call when the phone hasn't been locked. That's the only time it happens to me. I send text to the wrong contact frequently, but only once. Like, I don't think it happens 7 times in a row.
Yeah, that's pretty excessive.
Well,
That's a great point.
it's
how often
also
does that kind of thing happen?
But it's also the timeline. It's 7 times right around the time, by the DA's own theory, probably minutes after John O'Keefe was killed. So
when they're looking for his phone,
when all of this weird stuff is going on. So again, McCabe is a victim of, another just unfortunate coincidence, which, I mean, look, call it what it is. It's bullshit. I mean, just call it what it is.
That's great. It is. It's all
of
BS.
great comments tonight. Mazza, you have any comments on any of this that we've been?
Yeah, it's just the whole butt dialing thing. It's just absurd. It's like Mark just said. How do butt dialing? How often does that even happen? And then you got this happening like it's it's butt dial party. I mean, what's going on here? It doesn't happen. I mean,
dial party.
I've accidentally called someone one time in the last 2 years, probably. That just happened a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, it's the first time this has happened in a long time, And it was when I was updating a contact on my phone, and I accidentally was updating the name, and then just hit the dial button somehow, and that's how it happened. My phone was open. I was consciously aware of what I was doing, and I tapped the wrong button, and boom, the call came on. Someone called me back a couple minutes later, say, "Hey, did you call?" I said, "No, I was just adding your contact. I accidentally called." So, I mean, that's the way it happens. But think about that though. That's just one time, right? I accidentally called one person one time. That's it. It was isolated. It wasn't everybody's miscalling each other and butt dialing. Like someone said, a butt dialing extravaganza. Yeah, it's just this is just happening all over the place. And like Mark said, look at the time frame it's happening, and it's happening right within that.
That's the devastating part.
Yeah,
back and forth within a minute, right before how long to die in the cold. And all you're doing is inviting the defense to make a what I would call informed speculation about. I can theorize what that might have been. Oh shit, what happened? This is bad. He's outside. Ask her, and she says, does her Google search, and then the panic sets in, and they're off and running with their cover up, whatever they're covering up.
Yeah, it's all just like we think. I mean, if Karen Read did what they alleged, there would have been footage of it. They would have got the footage out and said, "Here you go. She did it. It's on camera. End of discussion. It's on the Ring camera." And they could. And I've said this for months now. If you want to trolls and everybody in whoever police departments, local or state, you want to prove me wrong, that's fine. Show me the Ring footage. Show me the Ring footage
I'm
that
going to
shows
tell you
that she did it.
something about also, and this will speak to the integrity or frankly lack thereof of the Norfolk DA's office. When this first came out, this idea that she was caught on a Ring camera mowing him down, that's about as prejudicial as it can get. I mean, that is a game over piece of evidence if it's real. And right out of the gate establishes a public perception that this is a stupid trial. This will be a quick guilty plea, just a matter of working out the best sentence and having a pity party on why you should go easy and all of that. And so it turns out that that's false. Any prosecutor with a shred of integrity would be, even if they think Karen Read's guilty and they want to continue to build their case, would be also concerned about who the hell
Yeah, who leaked that?
where did it come from? Was it a law enforcement thing? And not only would they want to track down so they know who the bad actors are who may be doing that, if they had half a brain, they might figure, why would they do that? Is there a reason why they're trying to throw this on her? Given he already knew they're all connected. They had to recuse themselves. And it might have led them, if they had any integrity, to investigate this earlier about what's going on with the incestuous relationship between the police, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and all of that. And that one piece of evidence, that totally false, prejudicial Ring camera argument, if they had followed that up, that may have led them to solve this and do other things that they just had no use to do because they were too busy tracking down people from Aruba and driving 30 miles away to do that, rather than, knock on the Albert's door and say, do you have any idea why this guy is lying dead on your lawn? And, ask the simple question, did he come inside? Can we look around? None of this search warrant crap. You can ask. There's no reason you can't do that.
One of the most absurd things I had heard through this entire case was on Court TV, well back, last summer probably, was that they were arguing against John's Apple Health data, which showed him go into the house and up multiple floors. And someone expert said, or so-called expert said, well, there could be, it could ping in any one of different directions. It could be off by 20 to 30 feet. And I said to myself, so you think about all the directions the thing could have possibly gone in. It could have gone to the house across the street, the house next door, but it goes right to that house. And it's measured going up 3 flights of stairs. So this person trying to say that there was any level of inaccuracy was the most absurd claim that I've ever heard. Because I understand, like, sometimes when you walk around, it can maybe be off by 5 to 10 feet. Even if that's so, then what about the fact that it still got him going up and down the stairs? And that's why this is why, like, some people are making fun of Court TV, and this is why I stopped watching them way back when, and I barely watch them, and it's always occasionally, because these are the kind of people that they would have on this show to make these claims. That data showed him go right for that house and showed him going up multiple floors. And someone was trying to refute that, like, oh, no, 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 it could have just been off by 10 to 30 feet. But yeah, even if it's off by 10 to 30 feet, it's going right for the house that we'd all suspect that he went in. So how do you answer that? It's just
Well,
some
I
of the
think,
things you hear
Yeah.
sometimes.
yeah. I mean, if you're going up and down, that's clearly suggesting you're in a house. Now, why he would be in any other house other than the one where all parties agree he was going makes no sense, clearly. So yeah, I mean, that sounds really pathetic to have somebody on Court TV say that. But I mean, look, they've had Wendy up there.
Yeah.
They put up
Right.
that other ridiculous video of the wrong car, the wrong side of the road. That's
Yeah.
just.
Right.
I mean, that's
I think it's
journalistic
awesome. Yeah.
malpractice to put
I
that
love
video
it.
on TV.
Yeah. I love it all because you know what? Like, this has proven this whole case, especially, but I've seen this even before this case, that like the YouTubers and the people on Twitter, they know the case better than any of the guests on Court TV.
Correct.
It's why all of our like the shows like the Galera, Melanie Little, and all these shows, our show, Turtle Boy. There's so many shows. They're just going through the roof. Sean McDonough. Every time I look at Sean, we're neck and neck. Like he's growing just as much as we are. It's amazing. We doubled our numbers in 1 month, in 30 days. I don't think Surviving the Survivor has like 100,000 followers. We're at like, what are we at? 18 now. So we're smaller, but we're getting bigger numbers than even that show, because that show's more like the court TV style. It's like people are hungry. They want to listen to people that know as much as they do.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm excited about that. Like,
they bring
makes
these
me happy. We're the media now.
Yeah, they bring these attorneys on here all the time, and what they are is they're attorneys that are generically answering questions. Like you have Mark on our show, Melanie. You have other attorneys that have followed this case, and someone like Mark and Melanie, they follow it. They know the ins and outs, but they bring these other attorneys on sometimes, and they just found out about the background of the story. Like they get a generalized tale, like, okay, this is what happened, and then they bring the attorney on who's a legal expert, but is not an expert in what the case is. They just found out 2 minutes before they went on the air, and they just kind of offered generalized answers like, well, yeah, it sounds like she hit him then, and she'll go to jail for years if that's what happened.
Yeah.
They're not educated attorneys. Like Mark, you're an educated attorney on an attorney level,
On the
but
case.
you're an educated attorney on the Karen Read case too, and that's the difference between you and Melanie and a lot of these attorneys that have been on court TV. Is they're educated attorneys, but they're not educated to this case.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but the first time you wanted to do this again, to me, it was a Wendy. It was the Wendy.
Wendy. We just covered Wendy.
And what I had told you, like the first time, was I don't know the case enough to offer an informed, credible. I just don't know factually. I don't know enough to give anything other than that would be some kind of like flyby lawyer analysis of, oh yeah, that's bad if she hit him, and you could be charged with murder and go to prison, and that's the level of the analysis. So, at that time, I didn't really know enough, and I certainly wouldn't want to embarrass myself and discredit myself. And also, you're not doing anyone a service. Nobody wants to hear some guy just get up and say something, from the seat of your pants that adds nothing. That's what Wendy does.
There's a lot of them that do that on court TV. Yeah. I've seen it on other issues too. They bring in these so-called experts, and they don't know anything about what they're talking about. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's what's beautiful about Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. You can find the experts. You can find, not only can you find the expert, you can find the flavor of the expert you want. You know what I mean? Like you want someone like that's a little more edgy, like Turtle Boy, you got him. If you want a ex-DEA guy, you got Sean McDonough. If you want someone like Olivia, analytical, breaking down every detail of the evidence, you got her. You know what I mean? You got Bederow over here. There's so many flavors of this.
Can I throw a shout out? I've never seen anyone have command of facts of a case like Olivia does.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's next level. Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
That's what kills me about court TV. They miss the opportunity. I don't get why every night it's not Olivia, Sean McDonough, Melanie Little, Mark Bederow, Turtle Boy, even me, even Mazza. Like we should all be on there. It's like anyone that is like getting the attention because people like what they're saying. I don't know why
they don't want it. I got blocked by the one hostess for simply saying, I think you've oversimplified an issue very politely.
Was that was that Miss Grant by any chance? Yeah, she blocked me for, I went after her. I publicly kind of basically.
I didn't go after her. I just, I don't even remember what the issue was. I think you're simplifying this as it was the McLaughlin stuff about laughing at them about why they're making such a big deal out of this friend acquaintance. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And I very politely said, you're missing the point, that if there's clearly hiding something here, it could cause a jury to wonder what it is. She does have a relationship with these people. And the answer to that was block.
Yeah, they pick all the worst ones. Julie Grant, Coffin Daffer, Wendy Murphy. I'm surprised they haven't had Grant yet. Well, they have Kevin on. I'm surprised they haven't had Kate Peters and Grant on yet.
Yeah,
like seriously. That's the only ones. Like that's how bad they are. They're terrible.
And
I mean,
Julie
look,
was a woman a year
unwatchable.
earlier that was all like, talking up this thing like it could be a cover up and everything a year ago. And all of a sudden she's like attacking them. And the thing she's done the worst is she's attacked the Free Karen Read movement. She's done that. It's abysmal, the things she said about this particular movement. It's sickening.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's far when Court TV put that video on of the wrong car, the wrong road, the wrong this, and it looked like some AI created nonsense. I mean, in terms of like sacrificing credibility at that point, they really, I think they damaged themselves. That was, I mean, to the people who know what's going on, to the flyby crowd, nobody knows. They just follow it and watch it that way. But to the people who actually know what's going on, to see something that ridiculous, and honestly, I'm surprised that the guy would endorse that and put it on as part of his, investigation if he wants to be taken seriously, because that's just, I mean, that's an own goal. That's just humiliating yourself with stuff that's just not factually accurate. And if you're gonna go on and argue a case, it helps to have actual facts, not AI created alternative facts.
Exactly. Mazza, you just suggested that Olivia Nile is that character that
The Hunger
Jennifer,
Games.
yeah, that Jennifer played there. What's her name?
Katniss
Jennifer.
Everdeen.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Hunger
when
Games.
everyone was trying to figure out her identity, I said, well, I think she could either be Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, Jennifer Lawrence's Katniss Everdeen. I think I put Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Then for my fourth guess, this was my biggest guess. My biggest guess was that her true identity was that Olivia Lambeau, get this, was Olivia Lambeau. That was my fourth and final guess.
I
That was
can
what
picture her like pulling the
yeah.
bow and arrow like that Katniss,
Oh, yeah.
just hitting her
What-
target.
I'm fascinated too. I mean, we were talking about all like the Twitter craziness. That was kind of the main theme here. There are so many people who are running around accusing people of being other
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
they state it with absolute
Yeah,
emphatic. I know who you are, and it's just these people.
I've been accused of being a dozen different people on there. I only have one. Actually, I have two accounts. One I never use. It's called Mike Can Boston. It's got like 10,000 people following it. I never use it. Then I have the Young Jurks. That's it. And I've been accused so many times of being Haley. I've been accused of being this one and that one. It's ridiculous.
Well, Grant.
They accused me of being Richie from Turtle Boy and a few other things I've gotten.
I mean, I've seen Grant accuse people of being Turtle Boy, of being Melanie Little, I guess, right? I
Yeah.
know it's you, and I saw you with your son or whatever in some island, and I know it's you, and it's my God.
And most of us know who that person is that they're being accused, and we know they're wrong. So it's funny for us. We just sit there and laugh. We're like, you'll never figure out who that person is. We know who it is. You'll never figure it out because it's nobody that you know, dummy. You'll never figure it out.
So weird.
So
Yeah.
Half Hammer
and
goes,
they have to, it's so funny because there aren't that many on the Free Karen Read side that are actually anonymous. There are a few, and I think they have good reason to. But on the other side, almost all of them are anonymous, and all they do is focus on going after those few who they don't know who they are. It's so weird.
No, some of them are like really aggressive and nasty. I mean, like really vicious. And I don't know what their angle is, but they tend to be faceless, nameless trolls, whatever.
Yeah. And you're doing what we do now. It's so funny because you'd go, we have a little private chat, and Mark will get up there and say, I just blocked this person. And like, I don't know about you, Bazza, but I'm always like, yeah, I blocked them a while ago. Like everyone you bring up that you just blocked, we already blocked. Did you block them, Bazza?
I've never, I mean, I've had a Twitter account for however long,
Yeah.
and until this stuff started,
Yeah.
I don't think I have literally ever blocked anyone.
Yeah, no, seriously.
And even in this thing, I give a wide berth. I haven't blocked the Grant weirdos yet because whatever. I'm talking about the people who just come after you with language that's, or I mean, some of these people are threatening people. That's a little different, but there was one guy who was just such a pain in the ass that I decided,
Zonker.
just like
I blocked him a long time ago.
I can't even get. No, it was the weekend. When I came to Boston, and I made a joke. Somebody asked where he's sitting at the game, and he starts commenting about like, what are you
stalking
doing?
you? Yeah,
And now I'm like, we've just gone far too weird, and you got to go. I
He's a
mean,
stalker. He is a total stalker.
I have
He,
this image of somebody
yeah.
just sitting in the basement with Cheeto fingers,
Oh,
just
seriously. No life. Absolutely no life. Stalker, stalker,
empty
stalker.
pizza boxes lying all around with half chewed crust, 8 cans of
Xbox controller.
Xbox controller covered in Cheeto fingers, right?
You know what's classic is Zonker spent his whole life trying to cancel Dave Portnoy, and all it did was make Dave Portnoy richer.
Wow.
Like one of the reasons Dave Portnoy got so rich this year is because of people like Zonker. Like Dave got to buy back his company for $1 after he sold it for like 100 million.
Yeah.
So like Dave is so rich because of Zonker. You would think that Zonker might get a clue. Like, dude, when you stalk and harass people like this that are like have a platform, it just makes them more popular. Like everything that you've done has helped Dave Portnoy, and like I welcome it actually at this point because I know that these trolls and stalkers, they like for every person, like there might be one person that believes in what they say, but there's 100 that follow me because they're bringing up my name. You know what I mean? So like it only helps us. I don't understand how you can be that dumb at this point, Zonker.
It's just, what's the point? I mean, move on, find something else to do.
Yeah, and that's the other point. Like you're wasting your limited time on this planet doing that. It's very sad.
Oh, he started like researching other high profile cases and posting pictures and say, is this the guy you represented? And, I can understand why you're so awful if you represent someone like that. I'm just thinking like, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah,
all I wanted to do was point out how awful a lawyer Wendy Murphy is. And now look at me.
Yeah. And he, Zonker knows. Zonker knows how awful the people he's around. Because he's one of them. Mazza, you got any final comments tonight or anything else you want to bring up? We're getting almost to 2 hours here.
Yeah, 10's my cutoff time. So no, definitely. It was kind of nice in some ways to have a little bit less time to follow the case this week. I needed a little bit of an intermission, quite honestly, and a halftime, just to kind of relax a little bit and kind of, the second, third, and fourth weeks, I was starting to get a little burnout, and I kind of got through it, which was great.
Weren't we all? Like seriously,
I
I
know.
remember that late night. After that
Yeah.
late night, it was like, oh man, we've been going hard.
Yeah, exactly. And what's good about the finals is that the games will start at 8:30 for us, so we can go on probably at like 6:37, and we'll have a little bit extra time before the games start. They won't be 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock games anymore, and probably those games won't even actually start till 9. They say 8:30, but it'll probably start at 8:45 to 9, which is good. So we'll have some more time to kind of not do evening shows, but not have to battle the Celtics being on too early or too. They're kind of in that medium before you got to go on really early or really late to get around it. So it'll be helpful with that. But yeah, it'll be nice to get back to it next week. I'm looking forward to this case picking up again. I am kind of getting a little fatigued with these Lally witnesses and all his questions and elongated conversations, and it's just like let's just get to the point now. Let's just get the people on the stand that are the principal characters, the primary people that can answer the questions, that can help the jury make a decision. Let's get them on the stand, get them crossed. But this thing's just been 40, 50 something witnesses so far. There's still 20 to 30, 35 to more to go. It's extremely enduring, and and I've done well enduring it. I have a pretty high threshold for that, but at the same time, there's been a couple witnesses up there where it's like, do we really need this person's testimony? Do we really need to hear from them? And in some cases, the defense has just kept it brief. They'll ask them maybe one or two questions, in some cases, not at all. And that's good because they just want to move this thing along. And, I just want this thing to be over by July 1st. That would be nice, but we'll see if this thing spills into,
I don't
at this
know
rate,
about that. Yeah. That might be pushing it. That'll be 1 month. I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. So those are my final thoughts, and I'm looking forward to coming back on next week and kind of reviewing this case as it picks back up again. I heard a rumor that Friday there may be no court next Friday, so it might just be a 4-day week.
That's 3-day. It's 3-day
Is it
actually
3-day?
next week. Yeah.
What's the other
No
day?
Friday, and I think it's no Tuesday. It might be
No
Thursday.
Tuesday? Okay.
It's either Tuesday or Thursday. So I know that Monday's court definitely, but I know I remember Friday specifically no court. The 2 days next week no court. I'm not sure exactly. I have to look at it again, but it's either.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Those are my final thoughts, Mike. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward
Let me
to
ask
Mark's
you another
fun.
question. Do you have
Oh,
any
sure.
kind of feeling on who might be testifying next week?
Yeah, it's probably going to be more of those people kind of in the same category as technical witnesses, possibly. And then I'm curious to know if they're going to start asking any state police that are on that witness list to the stand. But I don't know if that's going to end up happening this week or maybe a little bit further towards the end of Lally calling people. So I really don't know who they're going to call next, but I'd imagine it seems based on the trend of people that we saw the other day that it might not be too far off if we see people that are somewhat within that kind of, category of, that kind of witness. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, the medical examiner too, maybe.
yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. That would be nice to hear from them, and that'd be really good. Now, I guess Steve Scanlon or whatever we refused to testify. The rumor that he had put out there was that John hit his head when he fell. Like, for example, he was getting attacked and then he fell. That was something I read tonight. I might have heard that in the past, but they think the gash might have come from not like a push or a shove, but maybe he just got hit so hard that he kind of just fell backwards and hit his head on something. So,
definitely.
yeah, and either that or I think maybe a dog takedown would have been a plausible. That's one of my plausible theories is that he got an arm takedown by a dog, then he hit his head on the way down. So that's just something else I wanted to add before we part ways tonight. So great show again, great audience too. Great, love these people in the comments section.
Yeah, we have a great audience. 3,700 right now on YouTube, and
Wow.
quite a few on Facebook, and one on Twitch, a lot on Twitter. I always love that we have one or two on Twitch. We used to have a big zero on Twitch, so we're
Yeah,
making progress even on Twitch.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, the kids with their video games are starting to watch.
That's awesome.
So thank you so much for being here, Mazza. Mazza is also, for people that don't know, Mazza Media on Twitter, and you have a YouTube. You do your own show as well. People should definitely subscribe. Mazza Media on YouTube, right?
Yeah, Mazda Media at Mazda Media _. Typically, if you search for Mazda Media, it should just come right up. Anyways, I think there's a few other Mazda Medias up there, but I'm the biggest Mazda Media on the planet. It appears so. A couple of these other ones seem to be inactive and all that. So, yeah, I am the Mazda Media. Just look for that classic logo right there. Simple, but two colors, which is awesome. So,
Thank
So
you so much for being here tonight, Mazza.
no problem.
before you jump off, I do have an announcement that you're going to want to hear. I will be back in the building for game 2.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
boy.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome. I heard
Yep.
about that. Yeah, that's
What
great for
night
you.
is that one?
That's going to be Sunday night,
Okay.
Perfect.
a week
That's
from
awesome.
Sunday.
A week from tonight. A week from tomorrow. Yeah.
Or 2 days. Yeah.
A week, yeah, a week from
Not-
this weekend.
not.
Well, I'm not
First
like, what is it? It's a Friday or Saturday? I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's Friday. It's
It's,
Friday. It's Friday.
Thursday.
Right now. Yeah.
kind of a crazy trip, driving in that morning, staying and driving right back that night. So it's a
Right.
little
Oh, you going back? You're not even getting a hotel or something?
not that time. No,
Oh
Wow.
wow.
no,
That's a lot of driving in one night.
school
Wow.
and that. And yeah, no, it's
Do you go alone or you have someone come with you?
no. There'll be the whole
Family.
crew.
Oh, that's
Okay,
good
you
to
got a
hear.
crew. He's got a crew.
Good to hear.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's going to be a great time. It's going to be rocking the Garden. You don't want to be Kyrie Irving in that building. I'll tell you that
Oh,
much.
boy.
He's, for me, he's one of the athletes I despise the most. I was someone that did not like Peyton Manning or Aaron, A-Rod.
A-Rod is
But
bad.
but Kyrie's, it's a lover's quarrel here because he's a former player. So it's just all the more hated.
I went to the game earlier this year when they played Dallas in January, and he got the boo every time he touched the ball treatment. And, it's a regular season game in January. It was pretty loud. I think a finals game on ABC is going to be just brutal. But
it's going to be.
And he deserves all of it.
Yes, he does. That's for sure. And I had high hopes for him when we got him and we got Gordon Hayward. And I thought they were going to win it, within a year or two when they got him and Hayward with Tatum and Brown being drafted. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be the team to do it. And I saw him play when they played in 2018 when they played Harden, and then Marcus Smart shut down Harden at the end, and we came back from like 20 down. I was there for that.
That was a big.
Yeah, it was huge. I thought they were going to probably win that finals somewhere. I thought they were going to end up playing like the Warriors, beating the Warriors in the finals at some point. And then it just kind of, once Kyrie left and, Hayward had his major injury right off the bat, it was really disappointing.
Horrible.
Yeah,
that opening night.
Horrible injury.
Yeah.
Or your leg like that. And he's never been the same.
Yeah.
And Porzingis practiced today. That's good.
Yeah, we got to get him back. We get him back. Like I said, I think we should be able to handle them. They get some pretty solid bigs, but they're not going to be as good as Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam, in my opinion. And people keep saying online like the Celtics only won because players in the other team are hurt. Well, yeah, I mean to a good degree it helped, but at the same time, you also had Kristaps Porzingis hurt. You also had Luke Cornett hurt, and you didn't have these players available either. And I think that even with Halliburton out of the lineup, a lot of those games were really close because they still had to deal with the rebounding issues that they faced with only Horford as their only big. And it kind of kept the Pacers in the game quite a bit. And they had some guys that produced very well and stepped up very well for them offensively as well. That kept them in the game. But, I figure the Celtics get Porzingis back. There's just too much to deal with. You got Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, who are a stellar backcourt. But then at the
Very
same
top
time,
heavy.
you got Drew Holiday and Derek White and Jaylen Brown all available, and even Jason Tatum available to guard these guys, and all of them are primary, very strong defenders. So they got to battle that. And then on the flip side, who do the Mavericks truly have that can really handle Tatum and Brown? And well, they did a good job against Anthony Edwards. They also had to play only one top wing guy. This time they're playing two top wing guys. So it's going to be very tough for them to win this series. I think we match up extremely well. And I don't think that they're going to, the Mavericks fans are way too confident. It's like, I would not want to have to face us.
No,
Yeah.
they have depth, and they, as you said, they're 5 out. They have 5 shooters on the court at the same time, and so depth. They're just Dallas is top heavy, and they're as good top heavy as anyone. But
yeah,
it should be. Somebody says Celtics in 6. I'll take that.
Yeah, 6 or less. Yeah, 4 to 6, I'd say. I'm still leaning 4 or 5. There's always usually one game where you tend to drop, but I think that, if people think they're going to beat up the Celtics the way they beat up Minnesota, that ain't happening. And maybe there might be a game where the Celtics have an off night, but the Celtics don't
Better
really seem
not
to
be
have.
game 2, because
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
too
know.
long a drive, too much money, too much everything. It better not be that
Be
night.
safe. Be safe
You
when you're
need-
driving.
Yeah, you need a Jaylen Brown buzzer beater game winning, like against the Pacers type of game where you go out and that's the kind of ending you get. So that's for sure. But
Or the last one I went to, which was game 2, where they just pounded Indiana. I could take that. I'm
Right.
fine. I don't need a
Right.
close game. That's fine.
Right,
Just
right, exactly.
harasses, I'm totally fine with that.
Right.
Are we boring people at this point? Maybe.
Me, I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's funny. I used to like this. I watch a lot of the Celtics, a lot of sports when I was younger, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'll probably watch some of the games, but I couldn't name any of the players right now. Like last time I really got into it, probably were like when you said Kyrie Irving, and but that nothing compares to Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Bill Walton, Cedric Matt, all those players, Danny Ainge, DJ. Just not. To me, no sports are the same anymore. I don't know. I like the athletes. I just But I thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Bederow, and thank you so much, Mazda Media.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Free Karen Read. We'll see everyone next week, throughout the weekend, probably. All right. Take care.
All right. Have a great week.
Yep.
Bye.
Later. We're the Young Jurks. I want to thank everyone who's been watching tonight and supporting. We did get a couple Venmos. I want to thank the Venmos that came in. Gary Titus was one of them. Thank you so much, Gary Titus. Gary went to my business account. Hold on one second. I'm juggling between my dog biz and what you guys are sending me. Hold on one second. Gary Titus. DJ Gary Titus, thank you so much. Gary says, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Gary. Gary sent $10 on the Venmo. We also had a donation from Carrie with a K. She said, you guys do such a great job. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Sent $20 tonight. Thank you so much. I tried to get all the super chats up, but maybe I missed a few. I'm going to go through them right now, too, just to make sure. And I'm going to check the Cash App real quick. All right, cool. Got the Cash App done. Got the Venmo. Let's just check out the super chats because a lot of super chats came in. There's one from Ms. Baker. She says, my new fear, Bev rushes the defense, and she better not. Lally is to blame for dragging this trial into REM sleep. I know that is a good fear. She better not. I don't think she can, because if you give Lally like 2 to 3 months, and then the defense only needs, like, let's say a month, because I think that's how it's going to work out here. I think the defense is not going to waste time. So, but you got a point here. Definitely. Lots of super chats came in. I'm trying to get them all up. Yeah, this was pretty whack. Grant accused Melanie Little of having an affair with Alan Jackson. That was insane. We really don't know who's going to be on the stand next week. I think it's probably going to, if you're looking at it, I think the medical examiner. I think that a lot of these state police are going to start coming up. They got people, from the evidence, the experts, all those people are going to be coming up. I don't know if it's going to be the beginning and end of next week or the following week. We only have 3 days of court next week again. So we'll see what happens. We had 56 super chats tonight. It's amazing. Thank you for all the new members. I want to thank especially our moderators tonight. Tomorrow night, we got a special show at 6 p.m. So Saturday night, 6 p.m. I'm not even sure on all the guests. I've invited some great guests. We're going to do like a panel style with some past guests, but I'm inviting a lot of new people. So there's a lot of good people. Going to see who can make it tomorrow night. One of them I know who is confirmed is from England, the Broken Baker. He's going to be on the show tomorrow at 6 p.m. I think Andrea I want to say her name right. The attorney, Andrea Burkhart. I invited her. I think she is definitely a confirmation too. I got to get back to her, but I think she's going to be here tomorrow night as well, which is going to be exciting. Going to check a couple messages. Hold on one second. We'll see. There's a couple other people I invited. We'll see. Maybe Rita tomorrow night as well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night, like a 6 to 8 p.m. show. Make sure you check YouTube and hit the notification. I haven't even set it up yet, but I will set it up later tonight. So we'll be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I hope everyone enjoys the good weather tonight. I like this one. Young Turks, be free tonight. I can't sing. Jen Del Rio got me singing. She says, Mike Attorney Bederow, you're making the grown folks smile. Thank you so much for the donation tonight, Jen. Some really good ones. There was one second here. There was a $50 one from Luna's mom. Thank you so much for the $50. And then she made another donation too tonight. Thank you so much, Luna's mom. She donated 50. Thank you so much. And she said, and thanks to your viewers who reached out to me and asked about my mom. She's doing fantastic for a 91-year-old woman with a 93-year-old husband. Blessed. I'm glad that is working out for you. I know you missed a show because your mom, and I'm glad that our audience reached out. We did mention you that night, and very glad to hear that people are thinking about you. Thank you so much, Luna's mom. Toots is another one who became a new member tonight. Maureen Spillane, thank you so much for the donation tonight. I love all of you. And I got to say, we're over 18,000 now. In a month, we've doubled. 18,000 subs on Facebook, on YouTube right now. It's unbelievable. Our growth has been like parabolic this month. And the last few months, even before that, like since October, November, it's just gone up and up and up and up. And everyone is saying, I agree with this 100%. Miss Parks in the house. She says it was the best panel STS had since this trial started. What's funny to me is that I commented, to be honest, I'm only here for Mark. I've been so disappointed in STS coverage with tons of support. Yeah, I think everyone in the chat, a lot of people liked seeing Mark. People are used to seeing him on the show. They know who he is. He's very intelligent, great speaker. And the big thing is, beyond how brilliant he is, he's got the experience to back it up. So he really knows what he's talking about. And it shows. He did do a great job last night. Luna's mom, another contribution. Thank you so much, Luna's mom. Thank you, Sammy Spills the Tea. Thank you, Furious. Thank you, Ask Bob. I got to thank you all. You guys are all Toots, who gifted 5 Young Jurks memberships. We didn't even mention that tonight. Thank you so much, Toots. I really love that. I love seeing the memberships climb. We haven't done any special member events or anything yet. And I don't want to do anything while this trial's going on. Just due to the fact that I want to get the word out. I just want to attract more people to this every time we do a show. And I know it's happening, and I don't want to exclude people with a paywall. So people who are signing up as members, I really appreciate you, because we're really not offering you anything extra. You're just supporting us, which I really do appreciate. Eventually, after the trial's over, we may do some special member events. But I know if I did one right now, it would increase our membership even more, and we'd make more money and all that. But it's not about the money. This is about getting the word out. And I really appreciate you guys supporting us. And that's why that's why I go live so many nights. I miss all the date nights with my girlfriend. Tomorrow night, we're doing an early show so we can go out for ice cream after. Oh, I should have asked her, Mark, about this. It's sometimes hard to ask him all the questions that come in on Super Chats. I just can't. Because then Maz has got a question, and Mark's following up on something else. And so, but this is a good question. Maybe we'll ask him about it later. But yeah, Judge Beverly Canone had a mistrial on the Chestnut trial. Here's a good comment from Suzanne. She said, Marines are taught to lift by the belt as it is stronger than denim. This is a funny one. They want to send Mark a retainer in case they get in trouble. Got to be in New York. Oh, man. See, we avoided the Trump question. As soon as we started talking about Trump, everyone got really upset. They were all like, Trump 2024. Some people are like, Trump 24, I still like you, Mike, even though your, politics stink. They don't like my politics. I don't blame them. But then other people were saying, lock him up. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about that stuff. I really don't. Thank you so much, Alexis, for the contribution. He was blasting with the truce. Southern Mom, she says, I love hearing everyone on the panel. Smart and rational insight from a lawn local. I have been seeing various videos with common players, as in the Karen Read case. Any insights, and what is Canton 9? The Canton 9 is a group of people who went to protest outside of D&E Pizza, which is the select board member, Chris Albert's pizza place. He's the father of Colin Albert. He's the brother of Brian Albert. They went to protest the pizza place, and the cops threatened them, Canton police. And Mello, the special prosecutor, has threatened them with criminal charges. And so far, it's gone before like a clerk magistrate for like a magistrate hearing or whatever, and hasn't gone anywhere. But it hasn't been dismissed. It's been months. They had to raise money. And it's just another sign. Like here's these people doing a peaceful protest, no issues, just holding a sign, and they charge them with criminal witness intimidation. So that's who the Canton 9 is. If people want to support them, you can do so. It's freethecanton9.com. Let me just make sure that's it. No, wait. Freethecanton9. It's .org. Hold on one second. No, actually, I'm wrong. It's thecanton9.org. Thecanton9.org. They have a fundraiser. You can read all about them. Did I get that right? Oh, it's not coming up. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure I got the right one. Okay, it's the Canton 9. So it's the Canton and then the number 9. Just put 9.com. Thecanton9.com. You can see their fundraiser. You can read all about it there. Hopefully they get the charges dismissed. Nobody should be charged. When you're protesting, it's protected. That's not witness intimidation. It's ridiculous. Good question. I'm glad you asked it. I want to thank Patty tonight, Lizzie, Julia, Kelly Read. Wow. Kelly Read gave us a donation tonight. Wow, that's amazing. Kelly Reed is another great show, gentlemen. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. Congratulations again, Mike. No, thank you so much, Kelly. AKA the cat lady gave $5 tonight as well. She said, what are the chances the jury splits the baby? We did answer that tonight. See, we did answer some of the super chats. I tried. All right, I think I got all of these last ones. I'm just making sure that I didn't miss any. People got mad. It's hard to keep up. We had 57 of them tonight. I think I got all these up. Here's a new one, I think, from Miss Shorty. I didn't see earlier. She says, members only dog walk live stream, please, Mike. That would be hilarious. Walking my dogs live. Oh, my God. Too much could go wrong. Some of those stalkers would probably show up. Oh, my God. That's hilarious, though. You know what? You might actually, the other day when we were live streaming the trial, I was still remote when they cut it, so I had to go on the StreamYard app, and you have to put yourself in the room. So you might have seen me walking dogs during the Karen Read trial when I basically put an end to this live stream that day. You may see more of that. Very funny. I like that, Miss Shorty. That's a good idea. Thank you so much for the Australian dollars. I can't believe you're from Melbourne. It's where one of my ex-girlfriends lives right now. She's from Melbourne. She's great lady. She's married now. Has a couple of kids. Very nice. Caitlin. Thank you so much, Miss Shorty, for watching. I love Melbourne. I love Australia ever since that. Aussie Insiders here. Wow. Free Karen Read. Hey, Aussie Insider. I love her videos. Another one that is just killing it. Have you seen the numbers she's putting up lately? Just another example. We are the media now. We are the media. Hello, Mike. Hello, Aussie Insider. Love your videos. Check out Aussie Insider on YouTube. All right, everyone. Tomorrow night, Saturday, we'll be back live 6 p.m. Gonna have a bunch of guests here. Can't wait. I'll see you then. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. I'll see you there, everyone.